Hey there guys, welcome back to my channel Crafty Concepts with Erin. I'm Erin and today we're going to do a scrapbook layout. I am scrap lifting a layout I saw on Pinterest from So Scrappy, and I'll leave that in the description box below so you can check that out. But I've already pulled some supplies that I want to use to create this layout. I have some wood grain paper from the current wood grain paper pack. This is from the current July and August mix-ins, and I love that background. As you can see, we have some Seedless Preserves Distress Oxide, and I have the Doodled floral stamp set. So I thought this would be fun to use on today's layout. I have two photos. I printed these at 5 by, the actual photo part is 5 by 3.5, and then I printed it with that white margin. So I have a couple photos. This is a really good friend of mine, and we were just kind of enjoying a conversation in my garden. So I'm going to be scrapbooking those today. So let's go ahead and get started. I know I want this peach pattern paper as my base, so I'll set that on my VersaMat, and then a border of this wood grain paper. Now, I like to do things in thirds, so I've cut a 4-inch strip because 4 inches would be 1/3 of our 12-inch layout. And now I'm tearing off the edge. I want that white core to show, but I'm tearing carefully because I want kind of a straight tear. So this will go on the right hand side with the tear facing into the layout, and then I will bring my two photos in and stack them on top of each other in this orientation. So I'm using a pencil. I didn't have a regular pencil, so I just grabbed a watercolor, and I'm making marks under the inside corner of my photo. The only reason I'm doing that is so I kind of know where my photos are, and I can start my ink blending underneath the photo, and that way I can blend out from there and I won't have any harsh, ink marks that are darker than I want them. Hopefully that makes sense. I want this halo of color kind of glowing out from underneath the photos. And I did speed this up quite a bit because I spent several minutes, applying ink to the background. And I didn't think you wanted to watch that entire process. So this is super simple, and it doesn't need to be smooth and pretty underneath the photos, right? We're not going to see that area. In fact, it kind of looks like a hot mess, and you're like, oh, looks like my 2-year-old did that, right? So it'll look good here in the end, I promise. I kind of roughed up the edge of that wood grain paper even more with my fingernail, and then I'll go ahead and get this situated to the base page there. And then see how pretty that is, just kind of, coming out from under the pictures. And then I decided I wanted to add some splatter. So I'm going to bring in my all-purpose mat, and then I have my Grape shimmer brush. I don't want any splatter on that wood grain, so I'm just using a piece of scratch paper. You guys can tell what I was, last working on, right? My cute as a bug layout there. But I'm just tapping, and I don't quite want big drops, so I just dried off the edge of that shimmer brush on my scratch paper a little bit, and now we have this really pretty sparkly grape splatter. So I want to start working on my embellishments. I have my Misty stamp positioner tool here, and I've placed all of my doodled floral elements that I want to use in there. I have white daisy, and I'm just making sure that's not going to hit the magnet. I am going to color these with shimmer brushes, so I'm using my intense black ink because that one will stay, it's alcohol marker friendly, so it's not going to bleed if you put inks over the top of it. So you absolutely do not have to have a stamp positioner, but one of the main benefits is that you can re-ink your stamp if it didn't quite come out well, and re-stamp that, and it's going to come out perfectly every time. Now we are going to add some color to this, so I would recommend letting it dry for several minutes before coloring. I usually use my Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend markers, but for today I thought it'd be fun to use the shimmer brushes. I have the Grape shimmer brush here in my hand, and I'm just quickly coloring in that flower. I'm careful as I go around the edges, and then you can speed it up and be messy on the inside. You can let the shimmer brush dry and then go over it again and get darker colors, so you could do some shading and some different techniques like that, but it does lighten as it dries and you get this beautiful shine. So I'm coloring in the leaves green, and I can't quite remember what color green this is. I want to say it's Julep, and the Shimmer Brushes used to not have the color name on the barrel, and now they do. So that's a super bonus for those of you who order Shimmer Brushes now. I've had this one for quite a while, but you can see that shimmer and that sparkle, and it's so pretty. I've gone ahead and die cut all of these out, and they've dried, so you can, I don't know if you could see that. It's always harder to appreciate it on camera. But what I'm going to do is create a floral cluster in the upper left-hand corner here, and then kind of mimic that in the lower right-hand corner to draw your eye across the layout. So I've also used Bluebell to color in the small top flower and Sugar Plum to color in the smaller flower on the lower side there. So again, I'm just going to repeat that, tucking things and layering. I am going to bring in some foam tape and kind of pop some of these up to give some shadowing and dimension to the layout. But these are so pretty, and I love these doodled florals, and I love that the majority of them come with the coordinating thin cut. That is a super bonus. For my title, I'm using the Capital Simple Serif dies, and I'm going to die cut them from Grape cardstock. This is one of my go-to die sets for titles. It's super versatile. It's just the right size. And I know that the alphabet dies can be kind of an expensive initial cost, but they are well worth the investment because you'll never run out of letters. You can die cut them from cardstock or pattern paper to match your project, and they're just so useful. For the rest of my title, I'm going to bring in the Isabella scrapbooking stamp and use Itza and Beautiful. They have the word life we could have stamped, but I love mixing the die cuts with the stamped images. It just adds some, different textural elements to the title. I know a lot of the ladies in my hostess clubs have used their 50% off items to purchase the Simple Serif bundle and get it for a really good deal. I do want to give you a heads up too. The Simple Serif dies are retiring after August 31st, so just keep that in mind if it's been on your wish list. This was left over on my desk, and I thought that'd be fun to put a sentiment on there. And then I have a journaling block that's from this old retired stamp set. I have it in the Nature's Vein envelope, but I honestly don't know if that's what it's called. Sometimes my stamps make it into other envelopes and I don't catch it right away. So I'm going to ink this up and stamp it kind of coming out from underneath the picture. And this is going to be for my journaling. Just give that a good press, and perfect. You can never have enough journaling blocks in your stamp stash, right? So useful. On the top of this stitch bracket, I thought I would put a little sentiment that says, "This makes me so happy," and we'll tuck that right in the top. And then also from my stash, I have this "You're My Cup of Tea" stamp set, and it says, "So glad we're friends." I know so many of us collect stamps and then we just never use them. I love using my stamps and revisiting old favorites. I do use Evernote to organize my stamp collection, but I recommend just flipping through them routinely so that you know what you have and you can remember to use them. So I thought about putting that right there, but it looks like it's just kind of floating out by itself, and I wanted to join the sentiment to one of the clusters. So I'm stamping it directly on the wood grain paper here, and in hindsight, I probably should have gone above that wooden line, but it's okay. It looks good. No one will know the difference. I'm adding a little bit of foam tape to these larger flowers here and just popping those up using my non-stick microtip scissors to cut that foam. It makes it super easy. And then I did pull these enamel dots from my stash here. They're from the documented collection, and the colors really go well with my layouts. I'm like, oh, perfect. I love doing some stash busting. So I'm going to add 3 enamel dots to each cluster and just kind of create a visual triangle with those enamel dots around the flowers. And I love that they're different sizes too. So I'm trying to get those large ones used up, and this layout is done. It's so fun to create your own embellishments from your stamps, and I think that the Shimmer Brush stepped them up a notch with that sparkle and shine, and the ink blending with the Distress Oxides in the background was so easy. I hope you guys were inspired by today's video, and if you're not already a subscriber, I would love to have you join the Crafty Concepts with Erin community. So tap that subscribe button. Here's a few more videos I think you'll enjoy. Thanks for watching.